We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.
You're listening to Drunk on Broad, Philly Sports Unfiltered! From Broad Street down to the bank, we bleed red, green, black, blue, and gray. Racial classes, game day pride, Philly's hardware, drunk on the ride. ATL is flying high tonight, six stars lights up, the sky's so bright. Flyers crash like thunder on the ice. Philly swinging, everything's nice. Union chanting, passion loud and raw. City of grit, we break every law. Down, drunk on broad. No, we don't sleep. City of champions, running deep. For another round, let's make it loud. Feel it forever. We're Broad Street proud. Drunk on Broad. Yeah, we're home. Drunk on Broad.
Oh, well, good morning. It's Drunk on the Ice, but it's you are looking live at our Snowmageddon broadcast from the comfort of our own homes. It's whatever they're calling this winter storm, Mark. It has embarked. I was telling you before the show, I was up at 2 and letting the dogs out, and nothing was happening, and I'm like, oh, this is the calm before the storm. This is I'm just waiting. So, listen, before we get into anything like hockey related, if you don't have to be on the road, don't be on the road. Stay safe, stay home. Let the emergency response people do what they got to do to be able to get things clear and keep it safe for the people who actually need to be on the road. So, no DoorDashes, no Grubhub orders. Don't put anybody on the road that doesn't need to be. So that being said, Mark, I feel like we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge former Flyers goalie Garth Snow today. It seems only appropriate. This team right now, it was funky for a minute. There was a stretch where that week coming off that Eagles game where they lose to the 49ers just started what can only be described as a week of like absolute abject misery. I think the combined record for all the teams was like 1-11. The end of the Eagles season, the Phillies lose out on Bo Bichette. It was just like anything that could have gone wrong went wrong. Talk to me. You got Dan Vladar. That's he gets injured. He's not playing. It got ugly for a hot minute.
Yeah.
Talk me off the ledge here.
Yeah, it did. And like you said, it came at a time where, the Eagles, like you said, lost to the 49ers, and that kind of felt inevitable with the way the Birds have been playing all year. So
Sure.
So that happened, and then I think it was an opportunity for a lot of people to turn their attention. It's like, oh, well, let me see what's going on with the Flyers, what's going on with the Sixers, and then it's like, what the hell is this? They've been watching this all year, kind of thing.
It's very true.
So yeah, I mean, during that streak, it was a bizarre kind of turn of events in terms of everything that they had been doing prior that had made them successful they just stopped doing for like a like I
It's so weird.
yeah, like if you were watching them, I mean, like it's really, from a structure standpoint and things like that. Um, it just looked completely like it was like they did a complete 180 in terms of like making poor decisions with the puck, like egregious, blatant poor decisions with the puck, putting the puck in places where, in high risk areas and things like that. Guys trying to push to create things, and then of course too, the goaltending was not. You lose Vladar. He's been very good. Good goaltending can mask a lot of problems, and that ended up once he went down. Although this past week, I thought Sam Emerson had done a nice job. He deserves some marks
True.
For playing, getting his game in order. He was a definite positive this week in terms of how things went. That loss in Utah, I wouldn't really lay at his feet.
We could talk about that.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that was
sheesh.
that was tough, and for us on the East Coast, right? Like, I mean, I stay up and watch all those, so I just
I mean,
uh,
listen, Mark, you're a better man than me.
yeah,
That game, I watched the first two and woke up, and the game was already over. Like, in that really, really uncomfortable position on the couch with
yeah,
like the remote falling out of your hand.
yeah,
And I got up, saw the score, and I was like, I don't know how, but I got to check in the morning. And then I watched the highlights in the morning of that game, and I was like, there's no way that game ended that way.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then I watched the highlights. I was like, that really happened. That was the most Philly thing to happen, to be able to have the image of him skating with three guys behind him and an empty net. And the caption is, not only did he not score, but they ended up losing. And I was like,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like,
I had heard from people, some friends they were like, hey, that weren't really, they're not like, they definitely follow the Flyers, but they're not like the biggest fans or, you
right.
know, and I heard from them, they knew about that, you know what I mean? Like about the Mammoth game. And they were like, you gotta like, they were like, you gotta like relax. Maybe you should take some games off down there, like because they know I'm down there covering them and stuff like
Right.
that. And I'm like, hey, like duty calls, and it's even when it's bad. And like Hyman Roth says in The Godfather Part Two, this is the business we chose.
You're right. You're
So
right.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
but it was such a microcosm of their bad stretch, right? Like the Garnet Hathaway missed empty netter is the one, um, is the play that everybody looks at, and it's like, how does that happen? But the game tying goal, was a really Travis Sanheim had. I think he had kind of gotten some flack for that. That's really on Travis Konechny, like kind of pushing that puck backward,
for sure.
shuffling that puck backward, on his backhand, bouncing puck. There's not a lot Sanheim can do in that situation. You know, he tried to retreat, I think, as best he could to kind of get back and defend. But that was just a really good play. I think it was Clayton Keller, maybe, who scored the game tying goal.
I
Uh,
think you're right.
good heads up play by him to like attack like that, because they're trying to prolong the game at that point. But such a microcosm of that entire stretch, where uh, like a player like Konechny, for example, is obviously an important player for the Flyers, but he does some really foolish things with the puck sometimes. And I think sometimes he's like trying to overcorrect things or trying a little too hard, and he's
Right.
making poor decisions with the puck. So, and that's kind of trickled down. It's a lot of, during that stretch, it was a lot of veteran players not really contributing. It wasn't like a young player thing. It was kind of like
Yeah.
more the guys you expect not to do those things or kind of
I
lead by
mean, and
example.
And Mark, like in that stretch where they're losing six straight, right? They're not only losing six straight, but it's ugly. The way that they're losing, the way that they're giving up goals, the amount of goals, right? That back to back with Tampa, where they give up 12 goals in 2 days. It just and then you follow that up. You go to Buffalo and you lose 5-2, right? And then you go to Pittsburgh and you lose 6-3. Like they're and then we'd be remiss if we didn't check in on that game on Saturday against the Rangers, which I'm just going to let you take the wheel because you were there. You were the feelings that you were conveying, I'm sure, didn't do justice to encapsulating the the personal feelings of a Rangers team that has completely checked out and a Flyers team that in that game did everything to try to give up.
Yeah. Uh, man, the Rangers game was tough because I mean you're in that slog of a stretch where you're not playing well. Tampa had come in here in a back-to-back situation, completely outclassed the Flyers. They're a great team, but um, earlier in the week, you kind of, I guess, like if you're in a slide like that, you would circle for all the reasons you just mentioned, Don. You would circle the Rangers game as like, hey, here's a get right game for us. This team isn't playing well. They've been the Rangers have been a total mess this year. And yeah, they come in there and they just yeah, they outplay the Flyers in that game, and they're a team still with skilled players. So it was like if you're going to give them time and space, like the Flyers did, you're gonna pay for it.
Right.
And I think Artemi Panarin had himself a game in there, and Mika
For sure.
Zibanejad, who's absolute. I feel like, especially recently in recent years, I think Zibanejad has completely torched the Flyers every time he's played them. Um, and I think he had a hat trick in that game, right?
I believe so. I'm trying to pull up the stats, but I believe so.
So it looks like you get dominated in that game by their skilled players, even though they're a bad team. And you're like, well, they got to go out on the road. This is going to be a really tough stretch, right? You got Vegas, Utah, Colorado. So in a typical hockey fashion, you go out on the road in these environments, and you pick up what, like the 5 of the possible 6 points on the road trip, and do quite well, like all things considered. Um, Running the Colorado, who's I think by the goals per game and stuff like that, are the stingiest defensive team in the league. You come in there and drop 7 goals on them. Like it's just like
Mark, no, that game to me put my brain in such a pretzel because I'm like, you have a team that almost doesn't lose to anybody, right? They've got what 5-6 losses on the season.
yeah,
Like you're saying, they don't give up any goals at all. And you've got a Flyers team that, all things considered, has really struggled to put up a competitive, a competitive fight against some of the bottom half of this league.
yeah,
And you go into that is just one of those did they just think that just by rolling the pucks out there that they were going to be able to just kind of do their own thing? And there were some really impressive plays in that game where you look at the way that they were able to get the puck in the corners, you look at the way that they were able to take advantage of some mistakes. Just there were you get now you turn around in that game, right? You get the hat trick from Tippett. You get some really, really impressive goals. That this is one of those roller coaster, right? You're talking about they're gonna play the season out. Now I'm curious to see, because of that 6-game stretch where they lose and they drop in the standings. So now, instead of being in playoff contention. Right now, they're behind a Florida team to even be in consideration to get into the wild card. Talk to me about your approach between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, I think ultimately, I think the eye should still be on. Um, you can aim for, because it's so jumbled, right? Like the East is so jumbled.
Yeah,
Um, considering where the Flyers were prior to that slide, um, it obviously pushed them out of it, and it's because it's so close. And there's a lot of teams you have to hurdle. They're going to see some of those teams down the
right.
stretch here. So, um,
Like right now, you're lumped into a group of four, all tied with 57 points. Right, you,
mhm,
Florida, Toronto, and Washington are all at 57, and then you've got the Devils and Columbus at 56 and 55.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
you've got essentially everybody but the Rangers and Ottawa
yeah,
with it within 4 points.
yeah. So it's really, really jumbled, and I'd expect them to continue to kind of push for the postseason. I don't know that once the trade deadline comes around, which I think is in March this year, um, it's going to be yeah, I don't expect the Flyers to be very active in number one, I don't know how many rentals are going to exist because most of those guys are either re-signing. Some of them have
Right.
already been traded. Um, so I don't know that there's going to be any real option to whatever they do. I think is going to be with with the future in mind at the
Gotcha.
deadline. Um, the one asset I think they would have maybe considered flipping prior to giving him an extension would have been Christian Dvorak, but he's re-signed and
Right.
they like the player, so he's going to be here. But yeah, I don't anticipate. I think it's going to be like this, like you said, a roller coaster. It's going to be like this for the rest of the year,
Yeah.
provided they don't have another stretch like they just went through. They'll probably be in the mix here, and they'll play some meaningful regular season games, and uh, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, if they're close enough,
Right.
where it's they're not going to wave the white flag on a
No, no, no,
season.
no.
So,
I think
um,
they've kind of crossed that threshold, right? They've
right,
crossed that threshold where they're not bad enough like Ottawa and New York that it's sell everything and collect as many assets as you can.
right,
I think it's going to require a very unique scenario where they don't have to give up anything, and I say anything, but they don't have to give up something highly valuable, and they can get something back that might improve, but it's going to improve on the fringes. It's not like you're not acquiring a number one center, right? You're not
mm,
acquiring a top pair defenseman. You're not acquiring you know a goalie that's going to carry you through the playoffs.
mhm,
But if they can make some improvements and a lot of moves along the lines of moves that they've made before, right? When they've gotten guys that are, and I say like Tippett, not Tippett in particular, but a guy like that, a guy who we've talked about where he was log jammed in Florida, and Zegras the same way, Drysdale kind of the same way, right? Guys that are kind of like either not in good stead with the team that they're on, or teams bringing up younger guys. They're looking to move on from somebody else, but they're not looking like they want to collect something, but it doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to be somebody from the top five of your talent pool.
right.
Um, I'm curious to see. I think the most important part about between now and the end of the season is putting yourself in a position so that the games down the stretch are meaningful, like you were saying. That to me is more than anything.
Yeah.
Is to make those games down the stretch the most meaningful, because if you don't get in the playoffs, you'll at least have that feeling of those games down the stretch mattering.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that. I think
Yeah.
um, if they're gonna if they're gonna look somewhere, I mean, in terms of like your pro scouting and all, there may be an opportunity to find maybe like a younger player, preferably I think a centerman that has maybe been a lot. He's kind of got caught in a log jam somewhere, or um, has looked to move on, or maybe the fit isn't there and a team's looking to just kind of cut bait with the player. That could be an opportunity to add somebody. I think that's going to be kind of what they're going to. I think that's Briere's mo. I think he likes making trades like that. Um, I don't think that there's necessarily a big. Um, there's really not like a big splash player to be like to add.
Right.
Um, we just talked about the Rangers. I think really the only player that I can think of that would be not for the Flyers necessarily, but the that we'll hear more about probably closer to the deadlines. Probably Artemi Panarin, who's a
And
free
Aaron,
agent
yeah,
this summer, um, and I don't know that I don't know if the Rangers have an appetite to keep him. Uh,
for sure.
I'm not really even sure where the Rangers are headed in terms of is are they gonna tear their team down, or is there a retool that's gonna need to be figured out there? Um,
Mark,
but
you want to
Panarin,
know what team I have? I that that player that screams Florida Panthers to me.
yeah,
Panarin, like
yeah,
that is that the move that they make. To oh god, why am I blanking on his name? The guy Marchand, when they acquire Brad Marchand from Boston, same that to me feels like the same kind of move. And Florida, these last couple seasons, notoriously, right? They kind of lay in the weeds all season long. They keep guys healthy all season long. They make those moves. They're always acquiring assets with the immediate now in mind. That to me, if there's a top level guy to be moved, that to me is the team that says like we'll go all in and we'll figure out 5 years from now. We'll figure that out 5 years from now.
yeah.
And
That's a good one for Panarin. I could totally see that. Um, Similarly, like Vegas operates like that, right? They just added
very true.
uh, Rasmus Anderson, who's probably the top defenseman on the market. Um, they added him from Calgary, and they kind of operate in the same kind of vein as Florida. So
Yep.
I could totally see that for the Panthers, and it's just I don't really know. Like the trade deadline is going to be interesting for the fact that like I don't really know other than Panarin, like we said, like I don't really know what's going to happen. Is it going to be
Yeah.
like a really quiet deadline? Are there some moves out there that we're not necessarily expecting that could happen?
Yep.
We did see Quinn Hughes end up in Minnesota this year, and that was a surprise. So
True.
who knows? But I would expect the Flyers to kind of be like in a different kind of mindset in terms of. I've said this I think before, maybe not here, but um, I know a team like Winnipeg, for example, has they're a team that has not had a great year. They've also
True.
had centerman prospect Brad Lambert, who um, has struggled and is looking for a fresh start. I think I don't think it's ever been rescinded or anything, but he did ask for a trade at some point. Maybe that's somebody that you target. Uh, high, kid that was skilled and a former first round pick, top 15 pick, I think Lambert was, and um, you have an opportunity maybe to acquire a player like that and
Very true.
slide him into your lineup and give him the ice time that he was looking for, and maybe you can maybe there's something there. Maybe he can fill like a second line scoring role for you or something like that.
Very true.
Uh, I would imagine that they would be on the prowl for moves like that, uh, as opposed to like maybe some more uh, veteran, well-established names. Uh, so we'll see. But I'm kind of that's kind of where I'm at. I think with between now and the deadline to the end of the year is going to be that kind of they'll be looking for things like that.
For sure. Um, Outside of the Flyers, you're going to have the Olympics starting up a little bit. We said we would kind of circle back
Yeah.
to Olympic hockey. Um, what do you enjoy about the Olympic hockey piece as opposed to your everyday NHL part?
I love watching, like, it's cool to see, like, I'm going to follow I'll be following most of the games, not just from the Team USA perspective, but that was like for me growing up, like that was a big piece of like introducing me to guys that even though like they didn't,
Yeah,
uh, like American born players that I didn't get to watch that often,
for sure.
uh, and I would get to watch them uh, growing up, and um, I'll be keeping an eye on all the Flyers, Vladar for Czechia, and um, you know uh, Zanheim playing for Canada and stuff. Like I'll be following those guys along.
Very
Um,
true.
but it's an opportunity, right? Like I've really come to enjoy and be a big fan of Austin Matthews' game, and that's an opportunity to watch him, play in these like big atmospheres and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Also, too, like I mean, like Team Italy's bringing a team since it's in Italy,
yeah,
and it's all like international pro players. It's nobody from the NHL, um, and I think that's super cool. I like to get to see these
yeah,
guys. It might be an opportunity for some players, Team Latavia, teams like that, like who maybe don't have as many NHLers, but they could get themselves on NHL radars if
for
they
sure.
come in and have a good Olympics or you know what I mean, perform. Um, so it's an opportunity. Just like hockey is such a global game
For
that
sure.
especially in Europe and things like that, it's kind of the pageantry that comes with it is really cool, and that's probably my favorite part about it. You know,
I, I think, Mark, what we saw during the Four Nations, it'll be that, but it'll be like times 10. Seeing guys play, like have an opportunity to play for their country, to see guys that are normally um, guys that are enemies of each other, or they're playing on rival teams, but that now they're suiting up together, um, and then seeing some of those rivalries carry over into the Olympics. Um, it's the pageantry of it all, and I love, like, I'm in on everything Olympics for whatever
yeah,
reason. Um, it's the kind of thing, Mark, where, like, I don't know if you know, but like NBC 10, the last Summer Olympics, and I don't know if they're doing it now, but they did the Olympics equivalent of the red zone.
yeah,
They called it the gold zone.
yeah,
But that's what I would literally, and obviously it's in the summer, right? I'm off from school. I would literally just leave it on all day long.
yeah,
And every time I'm walking through the kitchen or wherever it's on, I'm like, oh, it's whatever was on, whether it was track, swimming, basketball, you name it. I was like, all right, I'm dialed in.
Yeah.
But they would literally just go from like one important moment to the next to the next, and it was like I hope that they're doing it with this one because I know that there's the whole time zone with Italy being 6 hours ahead, and obviously with the internet the way that it is, there's probably going to be a lot of these results that are going to happen that we will, by the time it's being broadcast in the US, we will probably already know what the results are, which is kind of anticlimactic unless you're staying up
Yeah.
like, from midnight to 6 in the morning to watch it. Um, but I love it. And as you were talking, Mark, I was I found on NHL.com, right, the complete rosters of all the teams. And it's like, obviously US and Canada, it's pretty much all NHL. But like as you were saying, like you get down to like, Chechnya, and it's like now it's like a little bit of a mix. It's like half NHL, half guys from Europe. But then you get further down the line, right? And it's the teams from France and Italy, and like those are all guys that like there's I'm looking at Team France, and there's one guy from the Canadians, and everybody else is from their like they play in their home
Yep.
country, and it's just I'm curious to see how can a guy like Draisaitl carry Europe? Or can he carry Germany?
Right.
The it's just the storylines are just incredible, and I love I love the pageantry of it all, and it goes back to like I remember what was the game? There was a shootout. I'm trying to remember the guy's name.
TJ Oshie had the
Yes,
big. Yeah. That was the
that
Sochi Olympics, I think, in Russia, where
was that it.
I think it was 24. I want to say 2014. The Sochi Olympics was they were
Yeah,
the Winter Olympics were in Russia, and he had that amazing shootout performance.
well,
Yeah,
and correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't there's an Olympic rule where like you can just keep reusing the same guy?
yeah, you can use the same player in the shootout, like if you want to, and they just kept they kept using
They just
TJ,
kept oh
and he kept
god, that's
scoring.
incredible. And is the rink bigger? The
Yes.
Olympic rink is bigger,
Hmm.
right? So it allows for more. Like, oh god, I love thinking about. Is there a winter Olympic sport off the radar that you enjoy watching?
Um, I usually like the luge kind of races and stuff. They're pretty cool. That's amazing to me. Like how fast they go. Like you're on your back like that. It's that seems so um, difficult to do. And as you were saying, like you mentioned the Summer Olympics and stuff. Like I do the same thing with that. Like I really enjoy uh, the whole pageantry of it all. I'll probably watch the opening ceremony is always a really cool
For
event,
sure.
and each country kind of does something unique and different. Um, and you mentioned before I talk about, I was going to make a point about something that you had said, but you mentioned Team France for the hockey.
Uh,
One of the guys on Team France, who's now in his 40s, is former Flyer Pierre Belmar is going to play for France,
oh,
and
get out!
at this point now, but he's in his like early 40s, mid 40s, I think now. So uh,
Wow, I
he'll get
didn't
to play.
I didn't even think like that. Now that you said his name, and I'm looking at it, going, oh god, yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm the same way with the Olympics. Like, I can't remember the year. It was a summer Olympics. I was in college. I was working down the shore, and I would come home, and I was super into the Misty May Trainer, Kerry Welsh run for volleyball, women's volleyball. They were like
Oh
dominating,
yeah,
and I know zero, next to nothing about how volleyball, how it's scored or whatever. And I'm at home with some of my cousins like, let's go. Like, I'm like all
Right.
into this,
You're dialed
watching
in
their run,
for sure.
and rooting for them because they were playing for us, and they were like super dominant women's volleyball players. Knew nothing about it really. Um, my mom used to play in a volleyball league uh, when I was a kid. She would play on weekends and stuff. That was the only thing I knew about it. I didn't know how it was scored, none of that stuff.
Gotcha.
And yeah, and I would watch that, and I was super into their run to gold. And it's an opportunity to see things like that. And if you like, not even just like, if you're a fan of like athletics and sports, and you have an open mind, it's like a heaven for you to watch all these different sports, these athletes that um, you otherwise wouldn't know much about, or their
Uh-huh.
sports, and you get this introduction to it, and real, you're able to kind of gain an appreciation for uh, what they do, and all the work and sacrifice that goes into it too. Every
I
four
mean,
years.
it's I think that when you mention right the luge, right, the luge, the bobsled, the downhill skiing, like it requires a skill that most of your traditional athletes just don't have, can't do. But like the the last Winter Olympics, the curling, right?
Oh my
Sli-
god!
Sliding the rock across the ice. Mark, it seems like it's a game that was born in a backyard, right? That like, and then the popularity that the U.S. men's curling team got at the last Winter Olympics when it it looked like it was just a group of like four dads that like they were like, we should try to do this, and then they just got really good at it.
Yeah,
But like the group of them together, it was like, all right, these are four guys that you could probably run into at a bar. Like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
how it kind of felt. And I'm looking at it going, I'm just like yeah, you got to slide a rock to a target. But like the guys with the brooms trying
yeah,
to like increase the friction so it moves. I'm like, and then trying to get it to turn. It's like that doesn't seem like it should be a sport, but it's an Olympic sport. And like there's something, the thing that I love about the Olympics is that there's something about watching a sport being played at the highest level.
yeah,
And it's whatever the sport is, whether it's speed skating, whether it's, ski jumping, or like, you know, to watch someone who is the elite of the elite. Like they are not just good, they're not great. They are in the group of elite athletes in their sport.
mm,
They are at the top.
yeah,
So it's like it's that to me is like the one thing that I really enjoy about watching the Olympics. So
yeah,
yeah, and that break will be coming up soon. So you'll have that break coming up. I think the last game that they played before that Olympic break is on February 5th,
hmm,
and then they'll pick back up on the 25th.
yep,
So yeah, we'll kind of we'll play that by ear. We'll see how that break goes. Maybe we'll have an Olympic check in
yeah.
for to kind of see where things are. But anything on the way out before we jump out and talk Sixers a little bit?
No, I think we kind of covered it all. They have game tomorrow potentially. I don't. We'll see what happens with the weather here in
Yeah,
Philly. Uh, so another busy week for them. They have a back to back and then in midweek on the road.
yeah,
Then they come home to play the Kings on the weekend next weekend.
yep,
So yeah, we'll see how they do here. It could be a different, a good week. It could change again, in the standings and how things go. It's that tight now, and then with the point system and how that works, it keeps a lot of teams in it. Maybe a little forced parity, but it works. It works. It keeps a lot of teams jumbled in there. and opportunities to make a run for one of those playoff spots. So, yeah, we'll see how they do this week. And, I think they started to kind of correct course there. Feel good coming home after that game against Colorado. And we'll see how that goes this week, So.
Most definitely. All right, on the way out, go Flyers.
We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.
You're listening to Drunk on Broad, Philly Sports Unfiltered. From Broad Street down to the bank, we bleed red, green, black, blue, and gray. Racial classes, game day pride. Philly's hardware, drunk on the ride. A.G. Elliott flying on at night. Sixers lights up, the sky's so bright. Flyers crash like thunder on the ice. Philly swinging, everything's nice. Union chanting, passion loud and raw. City of grit, we break every law. Down, drunk on broad. No, we don't sleep. City of champions, running deep. For another round, let's make it loud. Feel it forever. We're Broad Street proud. Drunk on Broad, yeah, we're home. Drunk on Broad.
Ooh, all right, Mark. So at the beginning of this, we talked a little bit of Flyers, and we mentioned Garth Snow. I'd only be remiss if we didn't mention Eric Snow, former Sixers guard. The fact that we've got two former Flyers and Sixers who are emblematic of the current weather situation outside. It's coming down in sheets. It's you know, you and I we were talking. We got the shovels and the snow blowers and the snow. We got it all ready. I know it's we're gonna kind of pack it in for the next couple of days. So talking all things Sixers. Mark, this we discussed at the top of the Sixers show or the Flyer show the type of week that went down in Philly with the combined record of all the teams and the Sixers getting the lone victory in the week of misery. Maxey gets the all-star starter nod. They're a team that, for what it's worth, Mark, has an opportunity to be competitive in an East that is, we've talked about it on previous shows, absolutely up for grabs. Wouldn't surprise me if they make a move to kind of bolster this roster. They have, and we can talk about it a little bit, they have a handful of pieces that could potentially be trade chips that they could move to bolster this roster. But don't look now, Mark. But Joel Embiid is in his role, playing a little bit better. And here's the key. He's back to trolling on social media, which means he's comfortable. You can tell that he's comfortable in the fact that he knows that he's handed the keys over to Maxey. He's
Yeah.
not trying to be front and center. He's kind of filling in that role as like the Robin to his Batman. The play that you're getting from VJ Edgecombe, the play that you're getting from Paul George, who has kind of found his groove in his veteran role. There's a lot to like about the way that this team is playing and the way that they're positioned.
Yeah, totally. I mean, they're in such a like it was such a far cry from where I was in the summertime. And I've said this every time. Mike and I have kind of touched on this on the Fired Up show.
I was just about to say,
But like, I mean, I, I can't say more good things about Tyrese Maxey, the season he's had, uh,
nope.
the way he's kind of like we had talked all summer long on this show in long form about the Sixers kind of needing, um, someone to kind of step up, grab the brass ring, so to speak, and really kind
Yeah,
of take charge of this. Um, Tyrese being that guy, along with his duo of with a really young, awesome upstart rookie in VJ Edgecombe, and seeing Embiid just kind of like Embiid deserves a lot of marks too for just kind of like you said, kind of handing the keys over to Maxi. Hey, I'm here to do what you guys need me to do. I think he's completely content with that for now, and we'll see. As long as they're having success, I can't imagine why he wouldn't have any issue with it moving forward. You know what I
right.
mean? Um, tough loss against the Knicks yesterday, but Joel looked like the Joel of old in that game, and that was really really fun to see. I think he almost had what he had end up with 38 or something like that in the loss.
Uh-huh.
Um, so he looked and he was moving well, which has been
Yeah,
a key to that. He had a couple dunks after not having one for a long time. uh,
yeah.
the one
I
down
mean,
the
30, right, 38 and 11.
Mhm.
And this was coming off a game against the Rockets where, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's played more minutes in that game than he did in uh, pretty much any games in a really long time. Like 40, he played like 45, 46 minutes.
Yeah,
Um, you know, and that's going to come with having the time off and having the time to be able but to get that win in overtime against Houston, that's a huge win
yeah,
for a
yeah,
team that they have the rough games against you lose, you split the back to back against Toronto, you lose both of the back to back against Cleveland, which I found to be a weird part of the schedule. Mark, the fact that you had two consecutive back to backs in the middle of January, to me is like that's weird. That's weird to play,
yeah.
and the two, and they're both at home. They're both at the same location. So
Right.
you have the back to back in Toronto, and they're both in Toronto, and then you have the back to back against Cleveland, but they're both in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Um, and I know that the NBA is trying to. That's a scheduling thing on the NBA, but like that's just weird and dumb. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in a league where like the back to backs are like guys. A lot of guys don't even play in them, so they kind of feel like you know
it's true.
they kind of feel like scheduled losses for certain. Not that you still have to go out there and play. We've seen the Sixers, for example, they've won and lost games that they had no business winning or losing
Yep.
to to a team's like second team. You know what I mean?
For real.
So anything can happen, but it's just kind of like it. The scheduling's kind of it's wonky with the two back to backs like that in the same month. Especially like when you think like there's probably if there's that many back to backs, there's probably a stretch where you're like there's probably like a 3 or 4 day stretch where you're not playing at all. So you may as well just like why didn't they just spread them out?
Right, right,
Uh,
right.
but Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a the win against the Rockets was encouraging, for sure, and then I think
Yeah,
it kind of looked at, it looks like, some of the things that we can, um, eh, you can take a lot of positives from it. I would like to see. I saw a stat for the last. I think it was the last 10 games for the Sixers. I would like to see them get a little bit more from their bench. Over the
yeah,
last couple weeks here. I think it was Quentin Grimes has been averaging 7 points off the bench. Dominic Barlow 7 points. Adeem Bona 4, and Trenton Watford's at 1.5 off the bench in the
yeah.
last 10. Uh,
You're really taxing that top group,
right.
and down the stretch, right where that may be, it may allow you, a situation right now, right? You're kind of hovering in that just above 500, record, right? You're 24-20. You're fourth in the Atlantic, um, but you're gonna need contributions from those depth guys.
Yeah.
If you really want to make a push, and really put yourself in that upper echelon of teams in the East, you're going to need contributions from the guys that you're talking about, right? Those guys are not going to. They're going to have to give you meaningful minutes where they are not, um, where you're not putting those guys on the floor and you're giving up leads like we've seen in the past. Like you need those guys. I think Mark, the guy that for what we've seen in years past, the guy that I'm most disappointed in terms of not him, but the way that they're utilizing him is Jared McCain.
Yeah.
That the fact that they're not figuring out more productive ways to get him minutes and meaningful minutes where he can contribute, where he can, you know, lead that second unit,
Mm.
it's really a shame because I mean, they didn't really have a choice when they drafted VJ Edgecombe because he he essentially filled in that role, and he is he is a better, more athletic, more productive version of what Jared McCain was.
Mm.
And when I look at that and I go, all right, well, now what do you do? Right. And that kind of leads me into that conversation down the line a little bit. When that trade deadline comes up, Jared McCain is a piece that it is not going to surprise me if he's part of a package of guys that gets moved.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't surprise me either. At this point, it's one of those things too where I think you just kind of like when you're, and it's kind of like too, it's a microcosm of like the Sixers situation in general, right? Like they were a team that were in a position where they had this absolutely dreadful season last year. It wasn't expected to be that, and but you're also on the books for like these really big hefty contracts, so you kind of have to stick with those guys.
Yeah,
um and then you know you take VJ, which was a good thing. He fills multiple buckets for you as far as like what he brings to the table.
for sure.
um but it kind of like you just, and then like they're in the mix for the playoffs, the very next season. So it just kind
Right.
of becomes like one of these things where I feel like you just lose out of you lose like the spot for developmental time. You
For
know what I
sure.
mean? Like you just don't have enough space to develop every player, and it's unfortunate because they used a first rounder on McCain.
Yeah,
I definitely think there's a player there still.
for
But
sure. And I
he's
think
just
maybe in a different role with a different with a different team,
exactly.
maybe he can. But like the way that VJ Edgecombe has come in and played such a complementary role
Yeah,
next to Tyrese, the way that he plays athletically, getting up and down the floor, the way that he's able to the bounce is incredible.
yeah,
Like Wouldn't surprise me, Mark, if he's in the dunk contest at the All
Oh, that
Star
would be
game.
that would be amazing.
But like, he's the type of guy that I'm looking at going right. He's able to. He's got the chase down blocks where he
Mhm.
swat. Right, he has the one that we referenced in the last show where he blocks two shots, blocks the same shot twice. Um, his athleticism just jumps off the board. And when you look at the evolution of this team, like we know that we have already seen the best version of Joel Embiid. That version of Embiid is not going to show up.
Right.
But if you get this version of him, which is playing meaningful minutes, being uberly productive when he's on the floor, and I think about Mark like projecting this to like a playoff series.
Hmm.
There are no back to backs. So you're going to have the opportunity to be able to get him rest in between
Yeah.
games because of the 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 way that the playoff series are designed. They stretch them out as much as humanly possible. So the NBA playoffs takes 2.5 months to complete,
Yeah.
but you're going to get guys like this that he's not going to have to take the nights off because they're going to play game one and then they're going to have two nights between game one and game two. So you can figure out a way to use him. And as long as he and Paul George are going to play that role and be healthy, you're going to have the opportunity to get those guys rest. And they could end up being a team in the East, Mark, that no one wants to run into.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. Definitely could be. I would like them to, like we said, to kind of explore the trade, at the trade deadline to help bolster this team. I think too, like yesterday was a proper indication of it, right? And the Knicks are a good rebounding team and all. Embiid had a great offensive performance. I think I don't know if the numbers support this or not. At times, he has had, um, the interior presence isn't what it was defensively or on the glass, right? The Sixers kind of got beat pretty good on the glass. I think they could probably use, if I'm thinking deadline, thinking ahead a bit, um, maybe a power forward that can kind of like rebound. Yeah, like I saw today, right? For example, Charles Bassey got brought back on a 10-day or a 15-day or something like that.
Okay.
So he'll be, maybe they kind of look at him because they're not really using Andre Drummond much. I mean, and if you're having trouble rebounding, you would think that would be a guy that you would want to get in there. But I think maybe they're also looking to kind of move off that final year. I think he's only here for this year.
Yeah.
So as I'm kind of thinking forward about like what they would need for a stretch run and beyond for the playoffs and all, I kind of
Okay.
feel like that's kind of where I would want to circle if I was Maury. Um, a four that can kind of, can get on the glass and maybe even shoot a little bit. Doesn't have to be an elite player, nothing like that, but just like somebody who can kind of fill that role. Because I think at times, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure PG has played a little four
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
them. And while they're getting the offensive contribution, uh, PG's not going to be down there crashing
No.
the
No. No.
glass,
No.
you know.
No. No.
So
PG's hanging out at that like that quarter pole
yeah,
right on the edge, waiting for the outlet pass.
right. So
Um,
yeah, that's something that I think maybe uh, getting somebody like that, maybe a guy that can kind of give you a little bit of two-way, fill multiple buckets
yeah,
for you in the four.
Mark,
Um,
I got the perfect guy for you.
mm,
I got the guy that fits all the things that you're talking about. Right, plays the four, is playing on a bad team, will come off the bench and give you meaningful, productive minutes.
mhm.
Um, we've seen him be a pest against teams in the playoffs. And I don't think you would have to give up a lot to get him. Bobby Portis.
Ooh,
right?
Is he still in
Bobby
Milwaukee?
Portis, he's in Milwaukee,
Still, yeah,
right? So like Bobby Portis is a guy that like will come off the bench and be a complete pain in the neck
yeah,
and be an agitator. And like and but he's got the playoff experience. He's got the opportunities to, you know, I'm sure the deal that he signed in Milwaukee is not going to prevent them from moving him.
mm,
Um, Milwaukee is like an abject disaster at this point.
yeah,
When,
yeah,
when you look at where they're positioned in, you know, they're 18-26. Um, they're sitting in that 11th spot in the playoffs. Um, and that's a guy that is not going to come in and demand to play a starting role. He's not going to come in and you know, but in a playoff series, that's the type of player that you need.
yeah,
That's the type of player that will come in off the bench, has the playoff experience, and doesn't allow a team to make a 13-0 run in 2 minutes,
yeah, right,
which
yeah,
in most playoff games is the difference. You know, if that's a thing that we've seen in the past at like 12 minutes to go in the fourth, like 12 minutes, right? 12, 11, you're a minute into the fourth quarter. You're up 17 and you give up a 13-0 run and now the game's tight. He's the type of guy that doesn't allow that to happen.
I would, I would love that.
And
Going
again,
into it,
Mark, I don't think the package that you would have to give up to get him, like that package could include some combination of McCain, Oubre, Drummond, picks. I'm sure that you could get on the phone with the Bucks and figure something out.
yeah. He has a. So I think he signed an extension. Yeah, so he's under contract till 27, 28. He has a
Okay.
player option in 28.
Okay.
Um, not pretty digestible. He's 13 million, 14 million. He gets the 15, close to 16 in his player option here.
For
But
sure.
yeah, no, I mean, he's only 30. He feels like he's been around significantly longer than that.
I mean, Mark, he looks like he's like 45,
He does he does look very old. Uh,
but
I'm
like,
older than Bobby Portis. I didn't even realize that.
oh god, Mark, I got the perfect word for him. He's grizzled.
Grissom. Yeah.
He's a grizzled veteran.
Yeah.
He's the iron skillet that your grandmother pulls out and wipes. She just takes the paper towel and just wipes around the edges. It never that pan has never seen a drop of soap, but the chicken cutlets come out tasting delicious every time.
The same. Yeah. Yep. No. Yeah. So he signed this extension over this past summer with
Okay,
Milwaukee, but like you said, they're falling apart. So maybe they're just looking to kind of create some space. I would love that.
that to me is a team that has the potential to hit reset.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
For sure.
the rumors have been dancing around Giannis and moving Giannis. Um, like even though Indiana's playing really bad, they're a team that has just kind of like they've just kind of relinquished the season. They know what they are. They know
Mhm.
what they're going to get when Halliburton comes back. Um, Washington is a team that has made moves, but they're kind of making moves for the future, right? They
Yeah.
make the trades earlier on in the season to bring in a couple of guys. But Milwaukee's a team that's like right in the middle. That's like it wouldn't surprise me if they just kind of hit a hard reset.
Yeah, yeah, they definitely seem like they need it, and the the Giannis piece of it is so strange because it the rumors are like loud around Giannis, and then
Very.
it was like there's always been this like not always, but in recent years, there's been a lot of like, does he really want to be there? or does he want to
Yeah.
go play somewhere else? Um, and he, we didn't hear a lot from him, but then like not all that long ago, he's like, "Yeah, I'm committed to Milwaukee. I want to be here." But it kind of felt like, I, I don't know, do we really believe you? Like, kind of
Mark,
that kind
you're
of thing.
committed to Milwaukee until you have an opportunity to go play in OKC,
Yeah, right.
right? Like, or San Antonio and play next to Wemby. Like,
Yeah,
you're committed until there is a better opportunity.
yeah, yeah. So
Love
he's
you,
been,
Milwaukee. I'll take out a full page ad. I'll put I'll put the banners and billboards up. Thank
yeah,
you for everything.
and
But
he, yeah, and he should. I mean, like he's
sure,
he's been the he got Milwaukee on the map, got them a title. He did
yeah.
everything there was to do there. So,
And at this
um,
point, there's too much to do to get back to that.
right,
So, like to me, he's just a guy who's at that point in his career where you just say, "Love you," but
yeah,
like if I'm gonna sit here and play every night and play for a team that's floundering 10 games, 8 to 10 games under 500 consistently, um, and I have an opportunity to kind of set Milwaukee up for that next part of like, I think that there's an opportunity for them to get assets back and for him to have another opportunity to kind of go on a run. And the scary thing is, Mark, is that OKC has the assets to do it without disrupting their, I don't know, top 8, 9 roster spots.
God, man, they
It's
just
it's crazy, right? And
yeah,
that team's sitting at 37-9.
yeah, yeah. I feel like we always kind of on our Sixers show we end up just like
We
just gawking over OKC because they're so good
It's so good.
and
It's so
like
good, and the to me, it's very envious of like
yeah,
it's a really well like here's where I'm at, Mark. They did the process better than we did.
oh yeah,
They did essentially the same thing that Sam Hinkie tried to do. They did. They executed a carbon copy of it,
hmm
but they just hit on everything where the Sixers did not.
hmm
Right where the Sixers missed on Jason Tatum. I mean, I don't want to open up new wounds,
yeah,
old wounds,
yeah,
but the Ben Simmons, the Markel Futz, the Michael Bridges, and the thoracic outlets, and like they didn't have any of that.
yeah,
Right? They flipped Paul George for SGA, and they get the picks with it, and then they get the guys with it, and then they get Lou Dort, and then they get Chet Holmgren, and like they did it right. And I
hmm
think that's to me where I'm looking at OKC and go, all right, well they did everything that the Sixers did,
hmm
except they just did it a lot better.
yeah, yeah. I too, and I think for everybody to kind of look at them as like the the like the banner franchise for how to
Right.
from roster construction and things like that. You can be bad, and it can be something in the NBA is designed to where like some teams got to be bad. It's just, you know what I mean. It's just kind of how
Right.
the NBA is,
Right.
and I think it also has a lot to do with the fact that like there's just not that many elite guys because basketball's so hard to play,
Yeah.
and I think uh, on top of that, I think it's one of these things where you know you can be bad and draft at the top of the draft, and that's one element of it. That is one element of it. That trade they made to get SGA, who was not SGA yet, you know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
He was a younger player, a guy that I'm sure they obviously liked, but there was a little bit of luck involved there, maybe in terms of like getting a player that was going to be MVP guy. You know what I mean? Like, and like more or less the face of your franchise. You know, but it takes all different. It takes all different avenues. You have to be proactive. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And full marks to them. Sam Presti's done an incredible job there. They still have assets, which is like you were saying, they can acquire a big name player and still
Yeah.
have the space and not disrupt anything on that roster that's already championship caliber.
Yeah. Yep.
Forget about it. Where everybody's playing for second place. You know
For
what I mean?
sure. Mark, I
So
just pulled up the details from that trade.
yeah,
So the Thunder got SGA, Gallinari, and they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 first round picks. Those first round picks turned into Trey Mann, Jalen Williams, Dylan Jones, and then they had a first round pick and 2 first round picks in this previous draft,
yeah,
and they've got another one in 26.
mm, yeah,
So for Paul George,
yeah. Right.
like that was the biggest no brainer ever. Um, even not knowing what SGA was going to be.
Yeah, and then with one of those picks, even hitting on one of those picks, right?
Uh-huh.
Because Trey Man's not. I don't think he's. I don't know where he was taken, but like not like when you look at using one of those first round picks and you end up with Jalen Williams, who's a stud himself. You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
That's how it all kind of comes together. It takes off for the ride. You know?
But that's what good teams do, though. Like
Yeah,
that
they do.
they
Mhm.
right, like you know, it's just that they just missed. They missed, and when they had an opportunity to reallocate some of those assets for the Sixers,
Mhm.
and they just didn't do it well, and
Yeah.
that to me that's something that will be relitigated until it'll be relitigated by our grandchildren,
Yeah.
um, because we'll have passed down the horror stories. Um, it's to look at the state of the NBA right now
Yeah.
and to see a team like that. Right, and San Antonio did the same. They did. Now they get the luck of getting Wemby, who's a incandescent player that is going to be able to kind of carry the breadth of that franchise. But now pairing him with Dylan Harper and they're going to battle OKC at the top of the West, but you still have teams like Denver and Houston that are going to be battling. You got the Lakers that have they make the trade for Luka and completely hit reset on that, and
Yeah.
essentially hand the keys over to him for when LeBron steps aside. But they have an opportunity to even where they are sitting at number 6 in the East. They have an opportunity to do some stuff in the East. I'm curious. I'm curious to see how it plays out, though.
It's kind of interesting too. Like I think with we talk about like the East being so wide open this year, and I mean you look at the West and compare it in comparison, like Minnesota is the 7th seed. Like if the playoffs were to start tomorrow,
Uh-huh.
Minnesota would be the 7th seed. They're like
Yep,
27-18. They would be the 3rd seed in the
in
East.
the East. Yep,
So you want to talk about like disparity, like talent balance. The
for sure.
West is loaded with talent, and like, but the East is still kind of like Detroit's still sitting in that 1 seed this
Yep.
year, and Boston's not going anywhere as much as I hate to see them there,
Yeah,
even
but you
without
got you have that group of teams between 2 and 5 that are
Mhm.
all sitting there with 27, 28 wins.
Yeah,
That are all kind of they're just all kind of like lumped together.
yeah,
And then you got the Sixers that are in that like that next tier.
Yeah.
right? They're in that next group of teams. Like they're in a group that like second group with, it's the Sixers, Orlando, Miami, Chicago that are all sitting there at 23, 24 wins.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see, and this is where like I'm curiously I've given myself the permission to be optimistic
Yeah.
because let's just be honest, there is not going to be another meaningful game played in this city until one of these, if and when one of these teams plays a playoff game,
Mm-hmm.
which I can't imagine the Sixers being bad enough to be out of the playoffs. So it's most likely going to be them. But like,
Yeah.
I'm also going into that playoff, whatever that playoff series would be. I'm going into it hopefully optimistic, but with not really having a whole lot of expectations because I'm just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that way too. I think if it were one of the like if it were like if they were to play the Knicks in the playoffs for the reasons we talked about last show, um, if they lose a series to the Knicks again, I'm going to be really upset. Even though, even though I'm like, yeah, I am happy that they're there, and after last year, like this year was, I should be grateful for what we have based on what we lived through last year. But
Most
like,
definitely.
I do not want to lose another series to the Knicks. Like you got to figure that one out. Um,
Yeah.
so the
Yeah,
no,
I don't want to
no,
have to go to school and face my colleagues that are all from the New York area,
oh
and and have that week long back and forth, um, based on the way that ended
yeah,
the last time and
and
the
don't
way
be,
that the season played out. It's whew.
and I don't look. And if the Knicks were to catch Boston, don't even think about losing a series to Boston. Like I've had my fill of getting beat by the Celtics. So do not, don't do that. I'm gonna be upset either way. I know that sounds like I'm being spoiled about it because of last year, and but I can't take those losses. I'm gonna be really annoyed about that.
No, Mark, you're right. But like to put a bow on all this team is a team that could lose in the first round, or they could get to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in
Yeah,
what I can't since what 01
the
or wait,
one
not 01. Oh, was it 01?
I think, yeah, that was the last time. I think the one was the last time.
But like either one of those things could happen.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm kind of this winter season. I've got no expectations. I'll
yeah.
put them on. I'll watch it if it's and I'll follow along and I'll have my opinions, but I'm going in really truly with not a whole lot of expectations, and then I can be hopefully optimistic, and the play on the court this year, again, like you were just saying, compared to what we saw last year. Um, if last year is the opportunity to be able to get the springboard into the next version of this team, then so be it.
That's what's so exciting about it. Yeah, like that's the one thing to keep in mind moving forward with it. Like just seeing too, like how like such a great pairing, VJ and Tyrese have become.
For sure.
Maxie giving the press conference with the VJ Max hat on. They just,
Yo, all right, talk about that for before we jump out of here.
yeah,
That was danced around
yeah,
at the very very beginning of the season.
yeah,
The fact that they went through with that they now have the actual hats with the and I
yeah,
got to imagine that merch is available online,
yeah,
um, official or unofficially. Whether you shop from the official store or whether you find someone that's recreating it on Etsy.
yeah,
But the way that they've embraced that,
yeah, yeah, and it just kind of feels like you said. It feels like they're they're going to be like they're ushering in this new era of Sixers basketball, and it's significantly more fun than previous eras that we've had.
Most definitely.
And I think it has a lot to do with their personalities, the way they approach games and all. They're kind of, and I don't mean this as like a knock on anybody, but they're like kind of like brave players. Like they don't mind
Yeah,
going
yeah,
out
yeah,
there
yeah.
and speaking up about, hey, like we're gonna do this, and I'm willing to take this on my shoulders and take, if it doesn't happen, I'm willing to take it on the chin. That's the kind of leadership that they hadn't had, and I think seeing those guys, especially such young players, kind of come in with that mentality and that role, uh, I think is super
Yep.
cool, and it's exciting to look at them as like the two, the guys that are going to help, usher in the new era of Sixers basketball, and hopefully, a perennial playoff team and a team that can, push for a title someday. That would be amazing,
For
So,
sure. Mark, anything we missed on the way out?
um, I don't think so. I know I mentioned Bassie getting that came down today. That news about,
Yeah.
so maybe he's somebody that they, former draft pick of the Sixers, right? Charles Bassie, I think, I think he was a second rounder or something like
Yeah.
that for them. So
Yeah, I mean, he was productive in his first stint for sure.
yeah, so maybe some of that rebounding and things like that we had talked about earlier. Maybe he's gonna help provide some of that, and we'll see. But I think we
Maybe
touched on.
fills that role of the Yabusele role
Yeah,
that he was kind of filling last year. So maybe that's a guy that they keep an eye on. But
yeah,
I'm curious.
yeah.
It should be good. So listen, on the way out, if you don't have to go outside, don't. If you got to go check on your neighbors, go check on your neighbors. But you know, it's going to be funky out there. So let the road crews do what they got to do, and we'll check in with you in a couple weeks.
I'm doing nothing. I'm watching. I'm getting ready for the football games. We're making
For
chili,
sure.
so I'm just hanging out.
Ah, Mark, that's you're speaking my language.
Yeah. So football and chili today, and inside.
Listen, all indoor activities are encouraged.
Yes.
All right, go Sixers.